Sometimes the world forgets to be kind. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you hurt you instead. And sometimes the only thing that keeps you alive is love, not the kind you find in fairy tales, but the kind that survives them. This is not just a story about magic or curses. It's a story about a sister who never gave up and a brother who lost everything except her. It's about the kind of love that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful, the kind that carries you through the darkest woods and holds you even when you're no longer yourself. So, before we begin, ask yourself, if someone you loved turned into something unrecognizable, would you still stay? Because this is the tale of two children, lost in a cruel world, who chose each other every time. This is the story of the little brother and sister by the Brothers Grimm. There was once a brother and a sister born into a house that forgot how to feel warm after their mother died. The sun didn't shine the same through the windows. Laughter stopped echoing in the halls. And their father, he remarried too quickly to a woman whose smile was cold as steel and whose heart never once beat for them. A woman who was not just mean, but a witch. She was not just cruel, she was a witch. She hated the children, she hated their laughter, she hated their love. She beat them, starved them, whispered curses into their bread and water. But the sister held her brother close each night and whispered, "Don't let her make you cold. You're not meant for bitterness." And he would nod, even as tears slid down his cheeks, saying only, "As long as we're together." But one evening, after another cruel dinner of cold bread and colder silence, the girl whispered, "Tomorrow we run." The boy's eyes lit up. Like, leave? Forever? They escaped into the forest, deep, old and wild. It was not kind, but it was free. Birds flew from their path, and trees bent their shadows across the ground, like arms reaching for lost things. By midday, thirst clawed at them. The boy stumbled toward a brook, the water glistening like glass over stones. But the sister stopped him, grabbing his arm. "No," she said. "The witch cursed the streams. I heard them speak. If you drink, you'll turn into a wild beast." "I'm so thirsty," he whispered, lips cracked. "I don't care if I turn into a dragon." She smiled sadly. "You'd hate being scaly." He laughed weakly. But when the third stream shimmered before them, he couldn't take it anymore. "I have to." And before she could stop him, he bent down, drank deeply, and in a shimmer of light and a crack of air, he was gone. In his place stood a small, trembling fawn. He blinked up at her with soft brown eyes. "Seriously," he said, voice high and confused. "A deer. I couldn't have become something cooler." She dropped to her knees, arms wrapping around his slender neck. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, but he nuzzled her shoulder. "It's not your fault. We're still together, right?" And so they stayed, deep in the woods, building a hut from sticks and hope. She cooked what she could, sang him songs from when they were little, and every night before sleep, she'd whisper, "We'll break the curse one day." I promise he never answered, but he'd rest his head in her lap, and she'd feel his heartbeat, still human beneath the fur. Seasons passed, the forest changed, and then one autumn day, the sound of horns echoed through the trees, a royal hunting party. The fawn ran, leaping between shadows, but a young king spotted him. He followed, bow lowered, curiosity in his heart. And then he saw her. She stood beside the fawn, eyes wary but kind, hair tangled with leaves, wearing nothing but a rough cloak and quiet strength. The king stepped forward. "You live here?" "Yes," she said, shielding the fawn. "With my brother." The king tilted his head. "That's your brother?" "Yes." "That's unusual." She raised her chin. "So is kindness, but we hold on to it anyway." And he smiled. He came again and again, and with every visit he saw more of the girl, not just the mystery, but her wisdom, her wit, her deep aching love, and one he said, "I want to marry you. Will you come to the castle with me?" She looked at the fawn. "He comes with me." "Of course," said the king. And so she became queen. The fawn walked beside her through castle halls, gentle and proud. The people whispered, the court stared, but no one dared to question a love so loyal, so fierce. But evil doesn't give up easily. The witch, enraged by the girl's joy, disguised herself as a midwife and crept into the castle when the queen was giving birth. With poison, lies, and magic, she banished the queen, put her own twisted daughter in the royal bed, and told the king she died in childbirth. The castle dimmed with grief, but love never dies quietly. Each night as the baby cried, a mist would rise, a gentle glow filled the nursery, and the queen's spirit, sorrowful but strong, appeared to rock her child. Nurses whispered of ghosts. The king didn't believe, and one night the king waited. She came, not as a queen, not in flesh, but as a figure of sorrow and moonlight. She held the baby, kissed his tiny head, and sang the lullaby her mother once sang to her. "My love," the king breathed, "you're not gone." "I waited," she said, tears like stars. "I held on, like I always do." The spell shattered, the queen returned to life, the witch's disguise fell, and she was banished into the dark. And the fawn, oh, the fawn, he shimmered and shifted, limbs lengthening, fur vanishing, and suddenly, a boy stood in the garden, his eyes wide with wonder. His first words, "I have hands, real hands." His sister ran to him, wrapped him in a hug so tight, they both fell into laughter and grass. "You came back," she whispered. "You never let me go," he replied. And so they lived, not just happily ever after, but fully. Because this is not just a tale of magic, it is the story of what happens when someone refuses to give up on you, even when you forget what it's like to be human. It's about holding on through curses, through sorrow, through silence, and finding your way home by the sound of someone who never stopped loving you.